Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Mind, Money, Soul. And today I want to talk about the psychology of spending and why we buy what we don't need. Right? I'm sure everybody can agree that they do that. The thing is, it's fully tied to psychology and our mindset, and basically, I just want to help us understand it, I guess, on a deeper level so that you can change your habits. Now, I've had a fucking ball this summer. Hashtag no regrets. But I absolutely have bought things that I don't need or spent money on things that I don't need. Now, caveat to all of this, I'm not saying you should only buy what you need because that would be a very boring life, right? Boring, which we don't want. So let's first of all talk about the emotional triggers behind spending money. So I want to compare emotion versus practical spending. So in my eyes, the emotional spending is kind of broken down into like impulsive purchases and then those from like your belief system. So impulsive is like you spend money because you are avoiding your emotions in that moment. So there's an emotional trigger that happens and you just go out and spend money because you think it's going to be the thing that will make you feel better. And you basically just ignore logically if you can afford it, if it's in the budget, and it's actually purely just focused on how you feel in the moment and you want to feel different. So for example, you feel lonely, so you go out and buy yourself a new outfit even though you can't afford it, or you've had a really stressful day at work, so on your way home you spend money on something. It's this idea of struggling to sit with the emotion of whatever it is, and you're like, I know what will make me feel better, spending. Now, we obviously do get a little bit of a dopamine rush from spending, so yes, you do technically feel better in the moment, but all you're doing is avoiding your emotions and spending money, and you have to deal with the consequences after. So that's the sort of impulsive part. Then from your belief system, right? If your beliefs or attitudes towards money are negative and limiting and rooted in emotions such as fear or shame or guilt, you might spend money you don't have because that belief feels so true to you and you've essentially attached your sense of identity to it. So for example, if you believe that having money makes you selfish, for whatever reason, wherever that's come from, if you believe that having money makes you selfish, you're going to get rid of that money by spending it all so that you don't view yourself as selfish. So even if your conscious mind wants to save and invest and grow and build your wealth, if you have a deep-rooted belief that money makes you selfish, you are going to overspend and you're going to get rid of that money as quickly as possible, right? So they're the two kind of different ways that the emotions and your belief system can make you spend money. Now, on a practical level, it's literally just buying things that meet your needs or things that you can actually afford. So what I want to talk a little bit about is the reward cycle in our brain. The brain literally has a reward system. So you're essentially seeking a dopamine rush, and you get this when you spend money or when you purchase something or when you tap your card or when you check out, right? The anticipation and the process of it all makes you feel so good in the moment. It makes you feel nice. The issue is that it fades very quickly. Now, what happens is your brain knows that it will get that feeling. It's not thinking about what happens after. It's not thinking about the feeling after of like, oh, damn it. It's the same with addiction, right? It's things that make you feel better in the moment. And they do, but it just disappears quite quickly, but that leaves you craving it more. So you're always chasing that high. You ignore the bit that you feel after, you're chasing that dopamine high in whatever capacity. And the more that you feed it, the more you get addicted to it. So examples, retail therapy. Retail therapy is called retail therapy for a reason, because it makes you feel better. For whatever reason, you're feeling shit and you just go out and spend a load of money. You're not thinking about the implication of what is happening when you spend money. Maybe it means you're taking from your holiday fund. Maybe it means you're not going to be able to pay your bills next month. Maybe it's going to stress you out because you're racking up a credit card bill. Whatever it is, you are just thinking about that moment and tap, tap, tap. Look at all these nice things I have. Look how I'm feeling. Look, that's all you're focused on. So that's an example. And just any unplanned purchases when you're feeling low. It's really important to acknowledge that, right? Now, when I say part of this is, yes, when you're feeling low, whatever your version of low is, low serotonin, low dopamine, but whatever low feels like to you in the moment. But touching back on like this idea around like emotional spending or impulse spending, it can also be when you feel good. The whole like treat yourself. That's real. You're feeling good and you want to then go and spend money. So that's more on the impulsive side. But yeah, it's just really important to acknowledge this reward-seeking system that we all have in our brains. Okay, next up, I want to talk about the influence of society and marketing. So first off, we've got the power of advertising and also social media and keeping up. Now, we are marketed to on a daily basis. Like, we're always being sold to. You walk out the house and there's billboards. You get on the train and there's like tube ads. You go on your phone and there's adverts on Instagram. People are paid to do a good job at marketing. And seriously, there are some amazing people who are very good at marketing. And let me give you an example, right? So you have like scarcity tactics. So like, this is your last chance to get this amazing thing. And it makes you act from a place of scarcity. Like, oh my God, if I don't buy it now, then I'm never going to be able to have it. I'm never going to have that thing. And that's the thing that's going to make me feel better. There's so many different tactics in marketing that tap into your psyche to make you spend money. Also, like tapping into this idea of FOMO. Like, if you don't have this amazing thing, but all of your friends do, they're all going to be happy and you won't. You're missing out. Taps in, it makes you feel emotional and it makes you feel attached and it makes you go, fuck it, I'll just deal with the consequences. I'm going to spend this money now. So yeah, the power of advertising is real. And then we also have social media and the trap of the comparison cycle. Like, trying to keep up with everybody is so hard and long and boring, right? The whole keeping up with the Joneses was, a concept created a long time ago, but it's just been exacerbated by social media. And it's this culture that keeps us stuck in a cycle of spending money. Well, it's this whole idea of we spend money to impress people that we don't know. I can't even remember the full phrase. What is it? We spend money we don't have to impress people that we don't know. Anyway, something like that. And it makes us feel like, or it creates this illusion of us fitting in and belonging. And like, we're tribal beings. We want to belong. We want to fit in. So you don't want to be left behind. But what we realise is that we attach so much of our self-worth and our sense of happiness to what we have and the money that we spend, which keeps us stuck in this cycle of not being able to build wealth and being able to have what we truly want, which is freedom and our time back and, adventure or whatever those values are to you. Now, if we think about brand loyalty, brands do a great job at building an emotional connection with their customers. It taps into your psychology and it basically makes you want to buy everything that the brand has, regardless of whether you actually need it or whether you can actually afford it. That's brand loyalty. There are some brands that I know that I love that I'm like, oh my God, if they just bring out anything, I'll just buy it, right? It's really important to acknowledge the affiliation that you have with brands because they are still businesses, corporations making money. It's totally okay to love brands and want to buy everything that they've got and, all of this. But as long as it's within A, what you can afford, and B, is something that you actually want, and you're not just doing it because they've told you, being aware of it and being conscious of it is really important. But we are fighting against all of these things every single day. Every day. Okay, so I just want to now touch on how to make your spending more conscious. So first off, awareness. Awareness is key. Take note of your spending habits and ask yourself why before every purchase. Now, the key thing here is your brain is going to try and convince you that the why is reasonable. Like, why am I buying this coat? Because I have to. It's a new season and I'm going to be cold and my other coat, is ugly and out of season. Your brain is always going to find a reason to justify its purchases. But the more that you can question yourself, the more you bring awareness to your habits and to your behaviours, and it just starts to put you a little bit more in the driver's seat. Okay, then you want to budget with intention. So be really, really clear with what you're trying to achieve and make your spending more intentional rather than reactionary. So when you create a budget and you plan for the month ahead, you can still factor in things that you want to spend money on and that still feel good. And you can still have like a little like pot in your spending that is for like impulse purchases or for fun or for, random things that you want to buy, but make it intentional. And you have to know where you're headed to be able to be intentional. What are you saving for? What are you investing for? What are you working towards? That's going to help you make a budget and a plan that fits more with what you're actually trying to do so that you can make those decisions. And then before you make any purchases, pause, stop. wait 24 to 48 hours, maybe even 72 hours. I like to say wait 3 days. This is the concept of delayed gratification, right? Waiting before you do something means that you're doing it from a conscious place and you're not just trying to get that high, that emotional high, that dopamine rush in the moment. It puts you in the position to be able to go, is this actually going to serve me? Now, delayed gratification is learning how to, lean into that is really important because we live in an instant gratification world. So the more that we can lean into delayed gratification, the better. And then on a practical level, remove your credit cards from your phones and so it's not so easy to tap, and take social media breaks so that you can reduce those triggers. There are things that you can do that help you kind of put a block between you and just spending money that you don't have. And then you want to also think about how to change your mindset. So you essentially want to go from impulsive to intentional. By strengthening your connection to your goals and your values, it's going to increase your ability to stop spending. So when you are really connected to your goals and your future, and really connected to the reason why you want money in the first place, it makes it easier to spend money because you can question yourself and say, is this taking me closer to my goals or further away? Is this something that I really value? That's really important for your own mindset. And then lastly, you want to shift your identity and see yourself as financially empowered. So if you can focus your self-worth and fulfillment from things outside of material goods and items, woohoo, that is empowering. When you put all of your sense of self into the things that you own, the things that you buy, and the way that other people view you, you are setting yourself up for a loss. Your sense of self-worth is, how you view yourself. How do you show up in friendships and relationships? What lovely qualities do you have? What type of person are you? How do you make other people feel? How do you, basically, everybody is worthy. Everybody deserves to have a good life. Everybody is inherently worthy already. It's just actually not building it back up, but I guess peeling back the layers that have taken you far away from that. And then finding fulfillment in things in your life outside of things. So for my birthday this year, I had a really low key one, right? And on the Sunday night, which was my actual birthday, it was literally me, my housemates, and 2 other friends who were staying over with us from LA. And we got takeaway. And we just sat and laughed and told stories and reminisced. I was crying with laughter so hard, so much I actually wet myself. Guilty. And I cherished that so much. I got so much fulfillment out of that night. I didn't care if I didn't get any presents. I didn't care. I wasn't thinking about how I looked or what I was wearing or, the things that I was going to buy with the money that I'd got. All I could care in that moment was about the laughter that I was having and the memories that I created and the connections that I had with my friends. And it was beautiful. So it was like my life was so much greater than how I was spending money. That's just one example. So yeah, tapping into this idea of spending money on things that we don't need is a psychological thing, but the more you can get in touch with yourself, the more that you can create enjoyment out of your life, and the more that you can really build that sense of connection with yourself, the easier it becomes because you don't go searching for things externally. The more you can learn to just sit with your emotions and know that you're going to be okay. Knowing that you're going to be okay no matter what emotion you experience is so powerful. And no amount of clothes or food or whatever that you buy is going to make you feel better. It'll make you feel better for a couple of minutes or a couple of hours, and then it fades. So that brings us around to the end of the episode. And I hope you found it useful and interesting. And I will see you next week.